I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, I've been doing an extensive amount of testing on the Brukite stone texture. Um, I have bought a total of 50,000 Brukite stone textures, or not, excuse me. I have bought 50,000 Brukite stones. Bought, found, that type of stuff. Saved from other things. Saved for years now. But I did buy a lot of them, so there's that. Right now, this testing is in Calypso. It's not on the moon. I've done some testing on the moon. Not exactly specifically this way with 5,000 K tests, but I have done several thousand K. I took my Brukite stone texture from QR1 to QR100, for example, on the moon of Monria, which is a moon of Calypso. I feel like I can look at those two pools and be like, they are the same, or there's enough difference that I need to go do this type of testing on Monria. We will see. And then I'm going to be interested to test what it's going to be on, like DSEG 9 versus Toulon. Now, both of those are owned by Toulon, or the parent company, of course. But the DSEG 9 is like straight off of Monria. So there's some questions about that. And, I need to do the same type of testing as I did on Monria on Toulon with the Brukite stone, but I'll be at QR100 because I need to go do the Nadiri Once an Apprentice a couple more times, a lot more times, so I can get that skill up. So it just makes a lot of sense to go ahead and do that there. I have other blueprints I want to do this with. This just happens to be the first one. This is also probably the lowest TT value you can get in a blueprint. The stone is 1,000 Brukite stone equals APED in TT. So that is not a lot. It sells for 2 to 3 usually when you're doing it, paying markup. Or if you find it yourself, you could sell it for 2 to 3 fairly easily. So there is that. The basic stone extractors are the expensive part generally of this. 100 equals a ped, and they usually sell for about 1.4 to 1.5 if you buy them in large enough quantities, at least per 100. So 1.5 ped or 1.4 ped per 100. So I have a QR rating 100 that neutralizes, stabilizes, however you want to view that, makes it my control, I guess you could say in scientific terms. I have enough skill that none of my skills really should hinder my ability to do this. Now there's some question about whether unlearned hidden skills or unlocked hidden skills affect your ability to craft things in a certain way or do certain things. To that, I kind of go with maybe. It depends on the skill. It depends on what you mean. For example, there is a very high level looting skill. People state that once you have that skill unlocked and the skill's high enough level for the things you're hunting, unusual items start dropping. Very rarely, just a little extra tick in the box of things that can drop. And they believe that is because of that skill. I could see that very much being a thing. However, it couldn't be too big of a thing, otherwise it would be way more known. No one who really has those skills is talking about that. It's kind of like a trade secret. You've worked really hard. You don't want 1,000 people there. You get the general idea. So we'll see. In crafting, I don't know what that would be. I'd have to really figure it out when I get higher level. I do know that being max level for that is something I want to be potentially. I think so. I think it's something I want to do. But we'll see. Okay, so let's go ahead and focus on this craft. As you can see here, I've got like a little brief snip of the crafting going in the background. Each one of these runs are 5,000 clicks. That's a long time. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the actual end sitting at my desk when it happened, or I got distracted or pulled away for husband duties, shall we say. My honey needs me to go do this. My kids need me to go pick them up at school, whatever. Power outage on the first one. So I don't have necessarily the percentage of the run, unfortunately. It's also why I really haven't live streamed it per se, because I really feel like I need to be engaging with you when I live stream these things. But the first one, we call it T1 for test one. It had a return of 73.25 PED. That's total of all items, base TT value. This is technically a net loss when you figure in markup. We'll get to that in just a second. It actually cost me around 10 PED. If you look into how much I paid for the markup and all that. But in straight TT for TT, it is a profitable run. But let's go ahead and break this down just a little bit. So I have 23 PED worth of or so of the Brukite stone texture. I get about a 20% markup on that. It's not the whole thing, unfortunately. So it works out to be between 5 and 7 PED of profit. You gotta figure in auction fees. If I had the ability to put this on like a store, I would ignore that, and that would be more profit towards me. So that's a good thing. If you look at some of the blueprints, especially the limited ones, some of those really do hold value, 2 or 3 times their value. I'll get more into that in run 2, where I got one that was much better. But yeah, so you can see that you start getting closer and it almost becomes neutral if I were to sell the blueprints. Now, I'm not selling the blueprints. I'm hoarding these limited blueprints for potentially future runs. I talked about this as sort of like not me telling Mindark where I'm going, but Mindark telling me where I'm going. And then I try and find like good examples of things I can do when I get to certain levels. And again, I'm thinking like a 5K run or 1,000 run or 2,000 or a couple 1,000 runs and that type of stuff. And we'll see what happens with that as time goes and which direction I go, whether it's more mining or more hunting type of things versus what I think I need to be doing. Okay, so doing one of these 5,000 click runs, you have to get 50,000 extractors. 50,000 extractors ends up being 50 PED, as I've talked about before. And that means that the 1.5 to 1.4 between those two ends up being, a pretty significant amount, closer to like 90 PED. Stones themselves, the Brukite stones, that would be 5 PED or 15. So if you look at 90 PED plus 15 PED, you're really looking at like 105 PED to do this run if you were to buy most of the components for it, versus 55 PED if you just figured in TT value. And that's kind of where things go off the rails. In this particular one, I got 73.25 PED return in TT. Like I said, 5 to 7 PED for the textures and extra profit, makes it closer. Start figuring those blueprints. It gets pretty close to neutral on those. Okay, so now let's look at the second session of 5,000 clicks. I did this one a couple weeks later. Here's what I found. This one got me a little less on the TT return value. It was 68.91 PED for T2. It's a bit deceptive though, because I think I actually made more money back on this one than I did on the first one, even though the TT value is less. And if I get this blueprint again, I'm going to check and see how that kind of averages out, whether they adjust the TT return value when you get this particular blueprint, because it has like a hidden value that doesn't represent itself. Okay, so we'll get into that right now. If you saw the first group where I talked about that, you can see that there is one blueprint, the long tooth musk blueprint, that only had one peck or 1/10 of a ped, which by itself is not very impressive. However, the demand for this blueprint makes this the most valuable blueprint of all the blueprints I've gotten so far. Also, you can see that so there are some blueprints on here that are orange in color. That is because these are considered to be augmented. When I made this list, I made it to be expandable into other mineral constructor type profession, or not professions, but blueprints. I didn't want to run it just for stone. I wanted to see if something odd for stone came up, so I put all the blueprints for that for all the levels. Actually, I'm just showing you the first 4, but I have every limited blueprint for material constructor that are basically known. There are some that fall in there, like the auxiliary sockets, that doesn't make sense, though they are augmented. So I'm curious to see if that's where those fall. That would be an interesting thing to find. And then if we go through this and I never see it, then I know, okay, this is not a true statement. This is something that is misunderstood. And someday I'll be able to put out a video and say, okay, from what my experience is with, 100,000 runs of Brukite stone texture, there is 0 chance you're going to get this, or there's a very small chance you're going to get this. And that's kind of where all this major testing is coming. I actually have run 3 and 4 done. I'm going to do that in about 2 weeks. I'll go ahead and release that video. And then I will set it up 5 and 6 to be about 2 weeks after that. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. This was just purely an information dump. The second video and the third video and the fourth video and the fifth video especially will be just like this. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. If there's something you want me to add to this or go into more, let me know specifically in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you guys have a great day and keep earning that ped. Bye.